An extra 1% in fees can have the effect of taking off 10 years of your retirement savings. You're exchanging money for some investment. Find out who gets paid. Find out how much they get paid.
Can you quantify how much people lose in fees over the course of their life? Welcome aboard, please, Tom Zagainer. This man is on a mission. He's got a company called America's Best 401ks. He partnered up with the legendary Tony Robbins, and pumped to have you, man. Thank you for joining.
Great to be here on short notice. Love to share the message.
So Tony's been a friend of the channel for many years.
Yeah.
When he came on with his new book, Unshakable, got it right here. If you guys,
got it right behind me.
There it is. If you guys flip to page 67, you'll read about Tony's good friend Tom Zagainer in there, and how Tony went from trying to understand the industry, 401ks, loving Tom's model, and then eventually moving his own personal funds to Tom, and also then partnering up with Tom and his business. So I want to get into the model. I want to get into everything you're doing. For the fans who love Tony, I think a lot of people would dream of being able to partner up with a Tony Robbins or somebody of that ilk to help their business grow. What does that process look like?
Deliberate. Yeah, I know that Tony and his team vetted us for a long period of time. And really, to your point, it started with what first hit home for him and his employees, who are truly, as you know, Tony, this is his family, right?
Yeah.
And their own 401k plan, which was with a very large insurance company that should have had phenomenal fees inside of it. It truly respected the fact that this 401k plan was for his 300 plus employees, was getting buried in fees. So it was in June of 2013, I was with my family on vacation in Florida, about 6 months into founding the company, and I get a call. We just got back from the beach. I look at my phone, it says Robbins Research International. I'm wondering, must be somebody from Tony's team, and I've been following him since 1986, inviting me to go to one of his events. Turned out it was his HR director. She had heard about what we were doing through his son Josh and said, I think we've got a problem with our 401k plan. We want to get it checked out. So we went through the process of doing an analysis. Over the course of the next couple of months, they became a client of mine. And in September, I got a call from Tony's team. He said, Tony would like to meet you. So it was Sunday the 26th. I flew over to the Wynn Hotel. This was when his prior book, Money Mastered the Game, was just sort of getting its foundation together.
Yeah.
We had a half-hour meeting that went for 3.5 hours. And we truly went toe-to-toe. So what Tony did was, I didn't know this, he had already gone into a studio, taken information that we put together on an informational video, shot it with his name on it, and him speaking. That was pretty cool, right? First time you meet a guy, he flips around his laptop, and there's a video with your message on it. He had really done his due diligence. And if you know Tony, if he understands a problem could be solved, and it was solved in this case for him, he immediately pivoted to wanting to know how big of a problem this is. How vast is the problem? If he, as astute as he is financially, didn't fully understand what was going on in the financial service industry, how could a small business owner with 10, 15 employees got their head down, busting their butt every day, understand what's going on in this world? So we went through this long meeting. I went to go to a couple of his events. We did a couple of pitches and catches in front of the audience, gained the confidence between ourselves. And then he and his son Josh approached me and said, you fixed this for us. How do we use his social platform to get this out to the rest of the world? So to really answer your question, Tony has offered, like many people in his position, phenomenal business opportunities day in, day out. How do you vet them? How do you know what's really real? You also have to have an interest in it. And I think, at least for us, it appealed to his uniform interest in ending suffering of all kinds, not just financial. It could be for whatever it is, in somebody's personal, emotional, relationships, their business. He does a lot of things, eliminate human trafficking, the great work he does with Feeding America. That just fit part and parcel into the totem. I
love it. And I know, man, you're on a mission. You hate fees, you hate people getting ripped off, where I think there's still a massive education issue to help people know that they're actually getting ripped off because they just don't understand. So talk to us about the mission of your business, what you do, why it's so great, why people should pay attention.
Let's think of the U.S. population, which is right around 330 million right now. Close to 80 million Americans are participating in a workplace retirement plan program. If we think of most Americans, most people worldwide really, we don't have residual or passive income. we are reliant upon the paycheck we get from our employer, which could be a very great paycheck, but it's a paycheck nonetheless, right? So the only opportunity we have to save is from the income that comes into us week to week, month to month, whatever it might be. We're counting on the fact that our employer, very well intentioned for the most part, has chosen a 401k solution in this case that's good for us. But the crazy stats, Evan, close to 70% of participants have no idea there's any fees whatsoever at all.
Wow.
This goes to our lack of financial acumen we just didn't learn growing up. Over 40% of business owners who chose the provider and who also generally have 80% of the balance and therefore the most to lose don't know what their fees are. We're just not paying attention to these things. So the financial industry, all the way up in 2012, never had to tell us what they were charging us. Think of anybody who's watching today if you went into a store, clothing store, and said, I'll take a suit, a couple of shirts, a ties, a pair of shoes, and this, and then you just walk out. How much is it? Don't worry. You would never make a consumer purchase not knowing what it cost. And yet we have no idea the erosion effect that's occurring in our 401k plans over time. So this is our mission. We've got 80 million folks out there who believe that the time when they put their tools down or whatever there is that their active work life helps them do their work day to day. When they stop working, now we're living longer, 20, 25, 30 years. When we look at our 401k balance, there's a lot of people are saying, is that all there is? How on earth is this going to sustain me for 20 years? And so it's what we're doing now. While we're working, we darn well better get a full understanding of it to make sure that the path we're heading on is an outcome we remotely want to be a part of. So that's our mission. Our mission is to have participants in plans and owners in plans. Get us these fee disclosures. Let us do an analysis of them. It's really archaeology. Because if I sent you over a dozen fee disclosures right now, brother, within a half hour you would say, what is this? After page 1, I don't even want to read this anymore, right?
Right.
Because there could be 3 or 4 words on page 34 that could change the complete complexion on the first 33 pages. So we've really got to become archaeologists to dig into that and see what the problem is, plan to plan. You can never take one plan on its merits. You have to keep digging.
Can you quantify how much people lose in fees over the course of their life?
Oh, my goodness. So we get hundreds of fee disclosures every week from participants and business owners. As a general rule, there's about 600,000 401k plans out there. Okay. About 95% have less than $3 million in total plan assets. Those are the ones really, really getting hurt by the insurance company providers, large payroll providers, brokers, those kinds of deals. The average plan we review has investment-related fees of 1.5% to 2.5%. As a general rule, if I looked at the next 100 fee disclosures, we would reduce fees on average 57%. What does that mean in numbers? Yeah. If, for example, you had fees of 1.5% versus ours of 0.60, just a little over 0.5%, and you had $1 million in your plan, and you're putting in $100,000 each year, collectively amongst all the employees, you're going to leave north of $1 million, $1.5 million on the table that could have been yours, but was directed to the providers to put in their pockets. That goes about to where the mission started. The industry thinks this is their 401k plan. We've come along and are the singular provider, not to be biased, and there's some good ones out there, but we were the singular provider that recognized this isn't our 401k plan. It belongs to all those families involved, all those families that people will never meet that are counting on this. And so this long bull market that's occurred the last 8 years has disguised the effect of these insanely high fees. Right. So it's not really a question of how much our balance grew. It's what could it have been, and how do we make sure history doesn't repeat itself? To put it really simply, an extra 1% in fees can have the effect of taking off 10 years of your retirement savings.
Wow.
We don't have 10 years to give up because in those 10 years, we won't be working to replace anything. So we can't give it up. Our mission is to cut it. In medical terms, they call it the etiology. What's the underlying cause of something going on that's causing the problem, that's causing discomfort or pain or an abscess or you need surgery? Our job is to get to that etiology, remove it, clean it, and take you on a forward path.
Do I have a choice? Like if I'm working at Sprint and there's a 401k program by my company, do I have a choice to say, hey, I like what Tom's saying, can we get in? Or is it up to the guys, the HR department at Sprint?
Yeah, here's the problem with that. And when we talk about 300 to 400 participants in 401k plans sending us their fee disclosures each week, a lot of them are disheartened to realize that they are restricted to using the provider their employer has chosen, right? So we have created a grassroots movement, if you will, where we are gently giving information to a participant in the plan, where they send us their disclosure. We do a complimentary analysis. Anybody can go to showmethefees.com as a participant in a plan. Send us your fee disclosure. We'll give you an analysis to see if it makes sense to move it up to your employer. About 10% of our business now is coming from an employee in a plan who, in theory, is restricted to using the provider their employer has chosen. We then give them a new story to tell. Why? Think back to that comment I mentioned earlier. More often than not, the business owner has 80% of the balance and therefore the most to lose. So this person is now taking something to their employer that has a massive effect on that person's family, but also amongst their peers. So while you're restricted, if we give them enough compelling evidence, in 5 or 6 weeks, we can get the old thing in the rearview mirror and on a new path. So you don't ever want to give up that fight. Why? It's your money. And the key point here, the business owner, by law, must ensure that the plan is for the sole benefit of its participants and that fees are reasonable and prudent. They're busy doing their business thing day to day. 401k plan is kind of like a checkbox item. If nothing overtly appears broken, it must not be broken. Our balances are going up, that must be good. But they're not digging into it. We do the digging and they're shocked. Some of the visceral reactions we get from people when we send them side-by-side comparisons, they're like, it can't be. The math can't work that way. How could this guy do that to me? We've been with them 10 years. How much have we left on the table? The reactions are very significant. They read Tony's book. They read about us in chapter 4. They go through the exercise of getting the disclosures to us. We do the comparison. And sometimes I could feel the breath coming out of them or being held. Because now they're wondering, oh my goodness, what did I do to my family? What did I do to my employees? Not on any fault of their own, but the system got them. And we've got to get them out of the system.
So do you want to destroy the mutual fund industry?
Not the mutual fund industry.
Okay.
Who we want to help find a new career path. And
I like how you put that.
And render obsolete.
Right.
Is the companies you see with blimps in stadiums and golf tournaments and commercials where they're on your side but they're not. So the big insurance companies, one of the fund companies perhaps, we'd like to see not the fund company being eradicated, but it's the brokers. And here's the problem. The average brokers, there's about 300,000 brokers in the United States. About 66% that say they're in the 401k business have 1 to 5 clients under their belt. They're derisively called two-plan Tommies, which I don't like because that's my name. I wish they would have been two-plan Joe, but it's not. It's two-plan Tommy. So they get 1 or 2 plans and they try to get really wealthy. So they send it to these insurance companies to tack on fees. And so you might start out with a low-cost fund list, but by the time different fees like asset maintenance charges or contract charges or program charges are added on, you went from 0.15% to 1.9. How the hell did that happen? For one reason, compensation to these third parties, right? So these big insurance companies, national payroll companies, everybody who has their hands in the cookie jar at your expense, yes, we'd like to see them do something else. It's a Netflix age. Blockbuster is dead, right? We don't go to the corner to rent a movie anymore and then go down to the corner and say, I want Star Wars, and it's out, and now I'm watching Home Alone for the 85th time. I want to watch what I want to watch today on my device. So that's where this world has changed. It's Uber, Lyft age. Taxi cabs are on their way out. This old style way of doing things doesn't have to be anymore. So yes, most certainly, I don't need to be on stadiums and blimps and golf tournaments, but I like them to be sponsored by a more responsible party, not one who's paying for it out of your retirement plan savings.
Right. It's not just the Uber or Lyft, Dave. It's the America's Best 401k age too, right?
Well, we like to look at it as a modern 401k that eliminates the middlemen. Right?
Yeah.
You can think of middlemen in most any aspect of our life, and it's usually someone getting a piece of something without an overt value being rendered in response. We believe you ought to earn a buck. You know, I grew up in a steel mill in Pittsburgh where you had to, everybody, all of my grandparents, everybody's family, those guys worked 16 hours a day. They busted their butt in horrible conditions to earn the money that they brought home to their family. We see in our industry people putting millions of dollars in their pocket, never have to lift a finger. The amount of people that we speak to, when I ask them about their broker or their advisor, when's the last time you saw that guy or gal? A year ago. I haven't seen him since. You know they're making a pretty penny on your money every week, don't they? Yeah, I know. Why don't you do something about it? And that's where when you spoke to Tony, Tony talks a lot about people are fearful of change.
Yeah.
They don't know what that step is, so they get used to things. Joe or Jane Broker is a good guy or gal. You see them at Little League or church or around the school in your neighborhood. They're good people. But they're handcuffed by what they can do, by who they've chosen to be employed by. And who suffers? Those 80 million Americans. So we keep telling people, go to findmyfees.com and figure out exactly what they are. You don't have to do it. Let us do it for you. Then we create the story and see if it makes sense to consider a change. We have to. If we don't, we're not going to have the money to live when we're done working.
And are you mostly targeting then small and medium-sized businesses to help them transition over because you're working directly with the business owner?
Yeah, so we all work directly with the business owner. Most of our clients have less than 100 employees.
Okay.
But I'll go back to my earlier statement. 93, 94% of companies that have 401k plans are all in that group. You mentioned Sprint earlier, or a Google or an Apple, whatever, right?
Right.
Those are massive entities that have very good plans because they have enough of an employee populace that's demanded things, and the industry can't pull the wool over their eyes. If you're a dentist, or you have a hardware store, or a restaurant, a dermatologist, whatever it might be, a construction company, you want to offer a 401k plan, you want to save, but you're grinding too much in your business, and you're accepting the status quo. We've got a lot of folks that come to us that will say, we only have 10 people. Do we qualify for you as a client? My goodness, we love you. It makes no difference. We have other people that say, our fees are this, and they told us one day when we have $1 million in assets, our fees will go down. That might be 7 years from now with the growth because they've got 6 employees. Why would you have to wait to get something really great? That's why we are audacious and named the company America's Best 401k back in 2012.
Right.
A lot of the folks in my industry gave me a lot of heat for that. Who do you think you are? Saying you're the best when you just started and you're going to go toe-to-toe with these billion-dollar companies? Well, I can tell you we're on their radar, and we are whipping their backsides on a regular basis, and it's a lot of fun to do so. Not for us, but for the so many thousands of participants whose financial lives are radically changed now because of this small decision their employer has made. It's a really beautiful thing.
And how much are kickbacks an issue in this industry?
It's not so much kickbacks, it's that fees are hidden in plain sight. Meaning, if you go into your fee disclosure, like somebody might tell me, why would I want to go with you? We have a low-cost lineup of Vanguard funds just like you do. In fact, we have the same funds you do. And I'll say, hey, Dr. Evan, let's take a look at your fee disclosure. Look at a couple columns over. That 0.15 had another 0.75% added in required revenue, and another 0.7% added in an administrative fee, and another emerging growth fee. So your 0.15 just went to 1.90. That's about a 3,000% markup. How did that happen? Because they can't get paid on these funds, they simply add fees on top to make sure they pay themselves. It's not a kickback per se. It's almost akin to like, let's say you said you're going to start eating salad because you want to live a healthy lifestyle. And you start out with the greens, lettuce, the base, the foundation. But then you head down that salad bar and put on every topping, and at the end of the day, at the end of the bar, you're at 4,000 calories. Your foundation was good. Salad, it's what got added on top. That's the prevailing problem in 401k plans. It's the industry saying, we want to make this much on you, or we're going to make this much on you, or we need to make this much on you. So we're going to add fees on top of the foundation to make sure we do at your expense. So nobody digs into the disclosure to see what those other fees are.
If the company that I'm working at has a deal with Vanguard and I can only buy Vanguard stuff, how is that negotiation with Vanguard? How did that happen? Like, why is Vanguard the exclusive where I can't get something else?
It's not really Vanguard per se, but if different providers will present a set lineup to you. For example, there are large national payroll companies that when you're presented a fund list, they didn't pick those funds because they're good or for your benefit. They're because those funds pay the payroll company revenue sharing, embedded fees in them.
Right.
They'll tell you that. They sell you on the idea of integration with payroll, make your life simple. They don't leave this other
I would
piece
call
out,
that a kickback. That wouldn't be a kickback?
Yeah, I'll leave it in your terms, right?
Okay, all right. Okay.
They call it revenue sharing, but in it's probably more your term, right?
Okay,
so these are the prevailing problems. So now you have a fund in there that has a 1.5% expense ratio purely because somebody else had to get paid on.
Right.
Vanguard itself has more retirement plan assets in their funds than any other fund company in the world. We use them. The average expense ratios in our lineup are just 0.12%. The difference is we're not adding all these fees on top, 1.5%, 2%. Our advisory fees, for example, are average 0.40. So you're all in. Your all-in investment-related fees are 0.60 or under. It's now working for you, not for them. But this is the key point. Every disclosure is different. That's why we don't take anything for granted. Even if I see one from the same company 50 times a week, or my team does, I tell my team, don't take it for granted because of the name of the provider on the top. They could have changed one thing in the body of that disclosure that can change the entire perspective. So each one has to be analyzed on its own merits.
And how are you able to operate at such a low ratio? Do you just have a better process? Do you use different technology? Like, how can you come in at such a cheaper rate?
Volume and no attrition. So we're adding significant amounts of new clients every month, and we lose none. That'd be one thing.
Right.
We're in a technology age. The old days of the industry like to say, but we have boots on the ground, and we're in your neighborhood. Okay, that's like saying I put my office on this block because there's a payphone on the end of the street in case I need to make an emergency call. Really? Those days are gone. So we put a plan together that blends personalization and technology. All your data is on whatever device you're using. The key point in our model, a voice, is one email away. You send an email to Advice at America's Best. We have an advisory team that reaches out to Billy or Sally and sets up a one-to-one phone call to speak. Hardly anybody is doing that. The industry, once or twice a year, some guy or gal comes out with donuts and bagels and a stack of paper. They try to get everybody in the room. They yak for an hour, and everybody said, what was that all about? No one will ever raise their hands to talk about their financial situation amongst their peers. So what good was it? So I get back at these guys. Your boots on the ground, your boots on the street have worn out. We don't need them anymore. We want to get a delivery mechanism the way we want it in this modern age. And so when you leverage that we don't, even though we have clients in all 50 states, we're there at their disposal as rapidly as they want it, even in forums like we are today. We just don't physically have to be everywhere. And people love that. Look, the market has been lousy this week. It was lousy last month. We got a ton of calls from participants who simply wanted to have a heartbeat on the other end of the phone to ensure them not to do anything rash. Don't take a distribution from your 401k. You're 32 years old, for crying out loud. You'll ride it out. Just relax. Let time take its course. People want that. In times of trouble, we look toward guidance of people who are experts. And that's what we try to provide, because most Americans are making the unfortunate financial decisions that they do is because they don't have someone who's in their life that's an expert. We try to bring that to the lay person. Whether your balance is $50 or $5 million, you're treated with the exact same kind of love and attention and respect that you should be afforded to. Doesn't matter what type of investor you are. You need that help, we give that help.
I really appreciate the education. I'm Canadian, but most of my audience is American. And I think the way that you explain things just makes sense, where it's easy to go into a broker and just feel more confused than when you went in the first place.
Yeah,
and so I really appreciate what you're doing.
Actually, let me speak to that, because of Tony's books, we have a worldwide audience that comes to us asking for help. Yeah. And while our services are for U.S.-based employers only, what I will say to be all-inclusive to your entire audience is you have an opportunity to invest in whatever country you are in. Australians have their own type of superannuitization retirement plan, right? In the UK, they call them schemes, which is a bad word in the US. Scheme you want to run away from.
Right.
Retirement plans there are called schemes. Canadians have their own plan. Everybody else has them. The bottom line is this. You're exchanging money for some investment. Find out who gets paid. Find out how much they get paid. And universally, if you can keep your overall expenses well under 1%, it doesn't matter that retirement program you have in your country, the money's now working more for you and not for somebody else. That's the best we can offer for a worldwide audience, to say there's the similarities there. Just know what you're paying for. Yeah. Like I always say, when it comes to your money, the most important thing is to know how much you have, where it is, and if where it is invested, how much exactly is it costing you. So don't be afraid to push whoever has your money on those questions.
Tom, if people want to learn more about you or your company or check their fees, like what do you want them to do as a next step?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Obviously, at americasbest401k.com is our homepage. But if you're an employer or a participant in the plan, you can go to findmyfees.com and you'll identify yourself. And then it will allow you to submit information about your plan. My team will then jump in and give you a complimentary review of your existing plan as soon as we get your fee disclosure. If you're the business owner, it might give you enough to take action. If you're a participant in the plan, it might give you enough of the story to take to your employer for the benefit of all you work for. So findmyfees.com will be the best place to start.
Tom, thank you, man. Thank you for the mission, and thank you for spending time with us. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, too, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thanks, man. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
If you want to see my interview with Tony Robbins, check out the video link right next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You have to become an owner and not just a consumer. You have to take a percentage of what you earn, as simplistic as it sounds, and automate it so it comes off the top of what you earn.